Hi everyone, welcome to Ask a Realtor. I'm Doug Pryor with JP and Associates Realtors here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. This is my video series where I take questions that I get from people when they find out I'm a realtor. They always have questions, so I thought I'd do a video series to maybe provide some benefit answers to a larger audience. So if you like what you hear, please share to someone else that may find the information useful. Today's topic, we're going to talk about first-time home buyers. So I'm ready to buy a house. What do I do? What are the next steps? Being a realtor, I think first and foremost you want to find a good agent. So what's a good agent? Well, there's a lot that goes into that, but certainly you want somebody that you can have a connection with, somebody that you feel comfortable with, somebody that's responsive, that can answer your questions, that gets back to you quickly, and really knows the process well and can help explain it well to you so that you have a good understanding. This is a big commitment in buying a house, so you want somebody that can really explain the process well to you. I think too, you want somebody that is patient, because it does take a while from start to finish. It's going to be a lot involved. So patience is key, and somebody I think that's calm. There's a lot of negotiating that goes into it. Emotions tend to run high because it is a big purchase decision. So somebody that can deal in emotional situations and negotiations in a calm manner, I think, is very important. But once you found a good agent, then what do? Next, you find a good lender, because the lender for a buyer is key. And there's a lot that goes into finding a good lender as well. Me, personally, I recommend to my clients that you use a local mortgage company. Somebody that deals in mortgages only and is local, because they know the local market. Also, they tend to be a little more responsive, a little easier to get hold of, and they also are available that if you need to, you can actually walk into an office and sit down and talk face to face with somebody instead of just trying to reach somebody on the phone. And I think that's important, especially for first-time home buyers, because they're going to have a lot of questions throughout the process. So finding a good lender is key, and you can shop around for those. So you want to ask about the fees that they charge, and those types of things, because it does differ from one to another. So shop around and find the best option for you. But again, somebody that you can deal with on a personal level that's very responsive is important. Once you have a lender, you want to go ahead and go through all of your financial situation with them, credit scores and income options and all those kinds of things, so that they have a good understanding of your financial situation, and they can tell you this is the amount up to what you can borrow for the purchase of a house. They will give you, or you ask for, a pre-approval letter. And that's very key, because most sellers, when you get ready to make an offer, they won't consider an offer that doesn't have a pre-approval letter attached to it. So you want to make sure that the lender has already gone through your financial situation and says, here's the amount you can borrow, and they have it in writing so that you can present that with an offer. And just a note about credit scores. So some people have issues with their credit, maybe some dings, some past things. You can get those credit reports. Of course, the lender will get them, but you can also ask for them personally from the reporting agencies. But if you do have issues, there are companies out there that can help you restore your credit and give you ideas on how you can raise that credit score quickly by paying off certain things, and that might be a good option for you to consider doing before you actually start the process of looking for a home. Once you have a lender, have a realtor, you also want to consider some other things. So, is your job stable? Is your income stable, or or is it at risk? You don't want to go into buying a home, lose your job, and then be in a real financial turmoil. So you want to make sure your job situation, your income situation is stable. And you also want to consider that you're going to be in the area for some time. That amount of time varies depending on who you talk to. Some people say at least 3 years. I typically say, probably more like 4 or 5 or more, just because it gives you time to recoup the costs that you put into buying the house if you do have to move and sell. Um, so, whether it's paying down the mortgage or property values increasing, at least 4 or 5 years gives you plenty of time to be able to get the money out that you put into the house to buy it. From there, when you actually get ready to start looking for a house, so you have to consider, what is it going to cost me? And a lot of people think, well, I got to save 20% to buy a house, and that can seem daunting or even out of reach for some people, but it's not necessarily the case. 20% is good because it eliminates the need for buying private mortgage insurance, which is something that is included into your monthly payment, but it's not necessary, it's not required. There are, most lenders will do loans that require as little as 3.5%. There are options even lower than that. Some of them have programs for first-time homebuyers where they actually pay some of your closing costs, your down payment, for you in down payment assistance programs. Those costs may be rolled into the overall cost of the loan, but it's money you're not having to come up with out of pocket. So I've seen some of my clients even get into a house for as little as 1% of the purchase price by using some of those programs. And there, are other costs that are rolled into it, and certainly a good agent can walk through all the potential costs that are going to come up in the transaction. But there are some out-of-pocket expenses you're going to have to pay initially that you have to be prepared for. The biggest of those is likely your escrow deposit, and that's money that is put into an account that's held by the title company. It simply tells the seller you're very serious and interested in buying their house. Usually it's about 1% of the purchase price. So $250,000 home, you'd put $2,500 into escrow. That money does go towards your closing costs. It's like you're paying the closing costs up front, but it's held by the title company. And then another cost that you're going to run into is an option fee. What the option fee does is usually it's a small token amount. It may be $100, $200, something like that, and there's a time period associated with it. I typically say a minimum of 5 days, maybe 7 days, more if you can get away with it. But whatever time period you set, within that time period you can simply say, I don't want to buy the house, and you walk away from the contract. You're not obligated to follow through with the purchase. But the option fee that you paid to the seller, and they keep that. So that $100 or $200 they keep for taking the property off the market, going under contract. But it gives you time to get an inspector, maybe multiple inspectors, depending on issues that the original inspector finds, to look at the house and tell you, if there are any major issues or what costs would be associated, that, things that might need to be repaired. And you do pay for the inspector up front typically. Those costs can run a few $100s depending on what all you're having inspected. If the house has a pool, if you're looking at termite inspections, things like that, add to those costs depending on how big the house is, the age of the house, those types of things. And then, of course, once the inspector gives you a report, this is what I found, you can go back to the seller and renegotiate. You can say, I want these items fixed, or I want a credit to have these items fixed. Things like that are part of the negotiating process, and things that we as agents do throughout the process to help get you the best price on the house and cover all contingencies. Now, sometimes not everything can be covered. There are issues that may arise once you buy a house. You're the owner. There's no longer a landlord that you can call and say, come fix this. So you do want to make sure you're not taking everything, all the money that you have available and putting into the house up front. You want to have an emergency fund that you can draw from if issues arise, because inevitably they do. Being a homeowner, you're going to have repairs, unexpected things arise that you're going to have to take care of. So that's just one other thing to consider as you get ready to move into home ownership. So that's kind of a broad overview. There's a whole lot involved, and certainly I can't cover everything here, but if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is below, and I'd be happy to talk with you one-on-one and have a discussion about all the ins and outs of the process. And again, if you like what you hear, share it with somebody that might benefit. And if you have other questions that maybe you want me to address in a future episode, let me know those too. Thanks for joining me, and look forward to seeing you next time.